This week, he is Benjamin Van Sesko because he's like Van Nistelrooy. He can do it from the start. He can do it from the bench. It doesn't matter.
So it's gone from 702 minutes per goal to 45 minutes and 40 seconds per goal.
What Sesko's got is the pace to get away from players. Gyökeres doesn't have that.
It was a fantastic ball. He was giving guys olays, nutmegs, dragbacks. Like, he was unplayable, Bruno Fernandes.
Just think he's absolutely sublime. He's been brilliant, and for me, he is the PFA player of the season.
The vibe I'm getting this morning actually is that the Manchester United hierarchy are confident he will decide to stay. I don't think United are a million miles away from having a really good season next year.
Hello and welcome back to Inside Devils, the talk sport show that keeps you bang up to date with everything going on outside of Old Trafford. And Air Sesko is at it again. Last weekend I called him Ole Gunnar Sesko. This week he is Benjamin Van Sesko because he's like Van Nistelrooy. He can do it from the start. He can do it from the bench. It doesn't matter. And our producer has actually written in here, which I'm not going to say on purpose. He said he's hunting down Wayne Rooney's record for goals. That's what's happening. This is Inside Devils. Joining me, of course, is Alex Crook and Angelina Kelly. And I'm delighted to say that this show is sponsored by BetMGM. You can download the app or visit betmgm.co.uk, 18 plus gambleaware.org. Please gamble responsibly. Ange, Crookie's down the line as usual, so we'll get to him in a second.
Obviously. Is that Crookie? Is it AI?
He's in his conservatory. He's chilling. Actually...
Are those Christmas lights still up?
Yeah, is
on
it?
that mirror behind
is it Christmas or is it mood lighting?
They're just decorative lights.
Okay, fair enough. We'll let you off.
Ange, another win. Win. 6 wins, 1 draw. We are flying under Michael Carrick. Absolutely flying.
We're third in the Premier League for the first time since, May 2023?
Look at that.
We're third in the Premier League. Did any of us honestly ever think that was going to happen?
No.
It's insane, isn't it? It's such a good feeling. And obviously getting the win over Crystal Palace, absolutely brilliant. I thought it was interesting that it was the earliest that we've conceded under Carrick, or I think at all this season, so it was a bit of a different challenge for them. I think, I'm sure we'll get into it. Were we a little bit lucky that they went down to 10 players in that? I think it helped us out because that first half was very Ruben Amorim-esque. It wasn't amazing. But I think overall, listen, we just want the wins. However we've got to get them, we're getting the wins. That's what's important. Third in the Premier League, Champions League football next season. I've said it before, I don't know if we're necessarily ready for Champions League football, but just to be back in the mix and also in this league phase for the first time, it's exciting,
we
isn't it?
We have to get back there. It is exciting. It's very pleasing on the eye to be winning games and feeling confident.
Yeah.
Crookie, is this another case of Michael Carrick earning his stripes again? Ran down the tunnel at half-time, of course, not happy with what he saw. Ange touched on it there and says it wasn't a good first half. Well, I'll say it wasn't a good first 35 minutes. From where I was sat, the last 10 minutes of the first half we started to but the first 35 minutes were really concerning, but Carrick got it fixed and managed to turn it around for us.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think the red card has totally changed the flow of the game. I don't understand the furore about that. We were watching on our monitors at Arsenal, and both Sam Matterface and I straight away said penalty and red card. He's made no attempt to play the ball. What annoyed me about that decision was that the on-field referee needed VAR to intervene in the first place because it should have been pretty clear.
You don't agree with people saying it was soft? United getting helped out again.
He's pulled him down.
Under the laws, yeah.
I don't understand why. There will be many more controversial decisions than that one. There have been already over the course of the season. There were at the weekend. So, you can only play the cards that you're dealt. And obviously, with 10 men, there's been occasions this season under previous managers when we've not been able to take advantage in the way we did at the weekend. So credit to Michael Carrick, credit to the players, credit to Bruno Fernandes, who was brilliant again with a penalty and then a superb assist for Sesko's winner. And the Michael Carrick bandwagon rolls on. Yeah,
it does. We'll talk about some individuals in a minute. And in terms of the team and the performance, as we're looking at it as an overview before we take a deeper dive, I just think where I was sat, I was right in front of Dalot in that first half. And Dalot had an absolute shocker in the first 35 minutes, kept giving the ball away. He was really struggling. But actually, he was struggling on an individual level, but the team was struggling, in my opinion, because of the shape of Crystal Palace. We play like a 4-4-2 now off the ball. And we absolutely struggled with their wing-backs. We didn't know how to control Munez and Mitchell. They were bombing on, which meant Dalot couldn't jump because he had Brennan Johnson to mark, and Luke Shaw couldn't jump because he had Sarr to mark. So the full-backs were coming. We just had big problems, and going 1-0 down, so early. Lenny Yoro was weak at the back post for Maxence Lacroix's header. Wasn't great from him, but he grew into the game after that. But it took us 35 minutes to work that out. In the last 10 minutes of the first half, we had a couple chances cleared off the line, save from Dean Henderson, couple flash chances, and we carried it on, which made the red card happen. And now let's get to Bruno Fernandes, because this guy is just putting up record numbers. He's silencing people in our own fan base who haven't appreciated him as much as they've not. Because I've been arguing with our own. Forget the people who are supposed to hate Bruno Fernandes, the neutrals or the rivals who don't like his petulance because he throws his arms up or thinks he...
There are loads of other captains in the Premier League that are petulant, but
the
whatever.
people who think that he gives the ball away too much. The people who just don't see how good he is. Even some of our own fans at times have been like, nah, we're better off without him and this, that and the other. Absolutely not. And when you need somebody to deliver, what does he do? He plays the ball inside Maxence Lacroix, which puts him in all sorts of trouble where he has to bring down Mateus Cunha. Impact. Scores the penalty. Impact. He's orchestrating. There's loads of clips been surfacing online, which he always does, to be fair, but more so after this game, talking to players, always on to players, explaining what to do. Like Joe Hart said in his commentary on Match of the Day, he's coaching. He's coaching players through the game. Then he puts the ball into a really good area, because Sesko's got a lot to do, by the way. It wasn't on a plate, but it was a fantastic ball. He was giving guys olays, nutmegs, dragbacks. Like, he was unplayable, Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah, he was absolutely amazing. In the second half. No, he was absolutely brilliant. And I know we've had conversations before about what does the future look like if we do need to cut the cord in order to bring certain players in, etc., etc. Like, we've had those conversations and questioned it, but I think this season it's... he's kind of silenced any concerns that we've had. And I think, I said, me and Crook do a Fiery Fridays podcast with Adrian Durham on talkSPORT, and I said last month that he should be the PFA player of the season, because I think that he's absolutely fantastic. He is one of the best players in the Premier League, if not the best, in my opinion. The amount of chances that he's creating, the work that he's doing, and I think in terms of attacking players that create and score goals in the final third, there's nobody close to what Bruno can do.
No, there isn't. He's streets ahead. He's streets ahead of everyone.
It's like most assists in the league, has had to play in an awful Man United side, has had to play out of position for half the season, and was still being integral to us. Now he's able to play with more freedom, and he's just doing it tenfold. And I just think he's absolutely sublime. He's been brilliant, and for me, he is the PFA player of the season, no doubt.
I mean, that's a big shout. I mean, he's definitely up there in the running, but obviously, it's a team that's going to win the league. Probably Arsenal, you never know, but a team that's going to win the league is probably going to get it. But it is weird, because if you look at City, if they do win the league, who's been the outstanding individual performer from the beginning to the end? It's kind of weird.
Look at the number 10s across the board, and I touched on this. You've got Cole Palmer. We know that he's been injured, but he's not been good enough. Where's Phil Foden? Yeah. He's just gone MIA once again. Martin Odegaard, Arsenal fans haven't rated him at times. Eberechi Eze, he's done well against Spurs, obviously, but has had a bit of a subpar season. I think you look at Florian Wirtz starting to show signs of improvement. People might give it to, someone might look at a Declan Rice or something like that if Arsenal win the league. But for me, fair. I just think that you think of all the big players, you think of Mo Salah, you think of Declan Rice, you think of Haaland, Van Dijk or Bukayo Saka or anybody. If you put them into a Manchester United team that finished 15th the previous season, could you argue that they could have taken Manchester United to where Bruno Fernandes has taken Man United, if that makes sense? Yeah. I just think that he's so impactful, and I just think he's brilliant.
He is. Crookie, I heard you say that please don't leave. Basically, we've just got to make sure he stays another year. I think you said that last week as well. You are banging that drum for him to make sure that he stays at this football club.
Yeah, I am, and it's a drum that I'm going to keep on banging for the rest of the season.
Until he hears you and signs again.
I think us on this podcast have always appreciated the qualities of Bruno Fernandes. He's been surrounded for much of his Manchester United career by players who simply aren't on his level, to be honest. But you had Mateus Cunha, you had Brian Mbeumo, you had Benjamin Sesko now, who's starting to really look the part. And I know privately, as I mentioned last week, Michael Carrick believes he can be one of the top strikers in the division, if not in Europe. And you really are seeing the qualities of Bruno Fernandes. His numbers are as good as ever. And even when United were underperforming last season, I don't really remember a patch where we were sort of talking about Bruno's poor form, because he always turns up, he always delivers, and he has to stay. The vibe I'm getting this morning actually is that the Manchester United hierarchy are confident he will decide to stay. Obviously, he's got that release clause in his contract that can be activated by European clubs, which is a concern. But I think they realise just how pivotal he is to any future success. And I genuinely think with him in the team next season, if they can get the couple of reinforcements they want, obviously Casemiro is going to move on, Ugarte will as well, maybe getting a left-back as cover for Luke Shaw and another central defender, as well as bolstering that midfield. I don't think United are a million miles away from having a really good season next year.
Do you agree with that?
I thought he was going to say challenge for the title or something.
Well, he did say. I did see him the other day. He did say that. He said if we get it right, maybe a title challenge. But do you know what though? Listen, stranger things have happened. Like, obviously, it feels like we're a million miles off the title. But you look at the quality of the Premier League this year, which has been a big talking point. But the quality in terms of, let's say, actually the inconsistencies.
Yeah.
You know, the fall off from Liverpool, the somewhat fall off from City, but they're making a go of it now.
Yeah.
You know, Chelsea haven't got their act together. We didn't get our act together. We've done it now. And it is what Crookie is saying, though, is about recruitment, though, because we had 4 hits last summer. Lamens, Mateus Cunha, Brian Mbeumo, and of course Benjamin Sesko.
Yeah.
If we get another 4 hits, which is easier said than done,
and they've got to be able to hit the ground running,
be Premier League ready, be ready to make this step up. You know, why can't we dream big next year?
I think it's always nice to dream big, and I think it's been a very long time since United fans have been able to even think about next season we should be in the top 4 again. Does that equal potentially not winning a Premier League title, but challenging or being in the mix or causing a little bit of disruption? We're allowed to get excited like that, and we deserve it, because it's been a long time of absolutely torrid football. So I get why people are excited. I think the fear for me is people are going to level up. Liverpool are going to come back strong. Yeah. Chelsea, whatever's going to happen with their managerial situation and all their players, but you'd like to think that their aim is to try and come back strong. You've got to look at the Aston Villa situation. Where do they go from here? City are going to want to level up. Arsenal are going to want to improve themselves even more, because if they do win this title, they're going to be hungry for more.
And if they don't, then they have to find out why and fix it.
Exactly. So there's... At the moment, the levels have been dipping and it has been inconsistent, but these clubs are going to want to come back strong. Newcastle as well, for example. So it's a tough one. There's a lot of variables. Of other teams coming back stronger and there being even more teams in the competition for the top 4, if not the title. The recruitment's doing well as well. Do you not think?
No, I don't. I think if Aston Villa don't qualify for the Champions League, I think there's every chance they lose Morgan Rogers, and it may even bring the future of manager Unai Emery into doubt. From what I'm hearing at Newcastle, I'm not expecting a big summer assault from them. In fact, I think it's going to be about trying to keep their players. Tino Livramento, wanted by Manchester City. I think we saw in January that Sandro Tonali is starting to hanker for a move away. Maybe Bruno Guimaraes as well. I think Tottenham are a million miles away from being challengers for the top 4. I think what we're seeing at the top end of the table, and Villa have been the anomaly this season so far, is we're seeing the old order restored. That's why I think if Manchester United can qualify for the Champions League this season, it's only going to cement themselves moving forward, because it's obviously going to give them a lot more pulling power when it comes this summer and a lot more cash to spend as well.
I do think it's about recruitment. Obviously, whether Carrick gets the job or not as well. And there's a lot of unknown. You talk about the variables. We don't know what Michael Carrick will be like in a permanent role with 40, 50 games a season.
This is the other thing. You're pinning all your hopes on that this is going to continue into the new season, which would be foolish to think.
We don't know. Yeah, we don't know that's going to happen now.
There's no
guarantees.
Scarred.
Of course not. We're scarred with loads of things that have happened, so we're like, let's just get to the summer, get us in Champions League, we'll go from there. It's a whole different landscape once Michael Carrick starts getting given a mission statement of, right, obviously guaranteed top 4 again,
4 competitions,
need to win something, want to start building this team to look like a title winning team, make that step up that Ollie started talking about when he said we tried to make the next step and we got it wrong, and then we went backwards. So there's so much that needs to change, for sure, needs to happen, by the way, before then. Benjamin Sesko. Sesko at it again, Crookie. Fantastic header. He's on a great scoring run. I think he's the highest scorer in the league this year, in 2026, I believe. Maybe by one goal or not, but I believe he is. And only Igor Thiago has scored more. And he's been excellent all year, to be fair to him. We wanted him to start, or a lot of people wanted him to start. There was a lot of and ahhing. Some people saying, listen, leave it with Carrick. It doesn't really matter, just choose. He got his start, Crookie, and he delivered again.
He did, and it was a terrific header, like you say. I mean, a brilliant cross from Bruno Fernandes, but the header of a striker massively high in confidence. 4 in 4 now, 6 in 7, is it, for Benjamin Sesko under Michael Carrick? And yeah, I mean, he looks the real deal, doesn't he? And he has to keep his place against Newcastle in midweek. I guess the concern is you've not really got a like-for-like replacement. And again, I think particularly if Joshua Zirkzee goes in the summer, maybe they will need to recruit another forward. Forward. He's putting all the work in training, from what I'm told. You know, he is a diligent professional, and he's getting what he deserves now. And the Manchester United fans, I've heard 2 different chants paying homage to Benjamin Sesko, so he's very quickly making himself a fan's favourite as well.
He is becoming a fan's favourite in the end, and also he's becoming inevitable. Yeah. Like him just scoring goals in this moment.
Yeah, and I think when you look at the numbers, he played 1,404 minutes of football and scored 2 goals. 274 minutes and scored 6 goals.
Crazy.
So it's gone from 702 minutes per goal to 45 minutes and 40 seconds per goal. And I just think you've got that, the Leeds game where he was awful, and then you fast forward to the Burnley game, and how things change so quickly. And I don't want to sit here and slate Ruben Amorim, because it's not about Ruben Amorim anymore, but there was clearly some kind of disconnect, because it's not just under Michael Carrick that he's seemed to look, kind of reinvented. Under Darren Fletcher as well, for those few games, he looked good as well. So something clearly wasn't right. Something is starting to click, and I just think it's very enjoyable to see him playing with such confidence. We've spoken about the strikers that have changed clubs or come into the Premier League this season, and a lot of them have been struggling, you can argue, minus Hugo Ekitike. So the fact that he is having such a good run towards the end of the season, it's great. This is what you want to see. Nobody wants to see a Man United signing do bad. And I just think it's brilliant. He looks like a striker as well. And I don't want to draw too many comparisons to Rasmus Hojlund, but it is like day and night when I'm watching him, if I'm being honest, because I just think he looks so much more like a striker. And I think even comparing him to like someone like Victor Gyökeres, he just looks good. He's silky. He's got great touch, like some of the goals that we've seen. So yeah, it's exciting.
I think he's got a lot of ingredients that you're looking for to, like you say, to make a complete striker. Obviously, he's 22, I think. He's raw. He's got a lot of learning to do, and I can see why they're being patient with him. But one of the things that really impressed me is the types of goals that he scored.
Yeah.
When I look at, like you said, the 2 against Burnley, the types of finishes. One was a run across the line, good finish. The other one was a first-time finish from across. That's open out his body. That's an excellent skill. You look at the touch and hit on the swivel against Fulham. You look at an almost impossible
There's
goal
quality there, isn't
against
there?
West Ham, where he manages to find the top of the roof of the net. You look at the header that he just scored. You look at the breakaway goal, the counter-attack against Everton, so that shows he can absolutely shift. Even though Tarkowski's not the quickest, the speed that he clocked at like 35 kilometres or something like that is still quick. I just think for him it's about mastering his frame, mastering his size, continuing to adapt to the league, because he looks like he's got all the attributes. And Crooker, we haven't been blessed in the striker position. It's been something that's been hindering us for ages, where we have to keep thinking back to, if we could have had a longer version of Cavani, if he could have been a bit more fit, or back to Zlatan, and we have to go back quite a while to think of someone who done okay as a striker here. But he looks like he's got the ingredients, doesn't he?
Yeah, I was just trying to think there who was the last United striker we had at their peak, because obviously all those players you mentioned, even Robin van Persie, came in the twilight of their careers. So I think it's a.
Well, we had Lukaku
really good...
in his peak, didn't we? Really, I suppose. At the age, I mean, he started off well and then he's tailed off, and then there were problems. But again, not value for money. You're right.
No. So it's a relevant point that you raise. A couple of things I want to say here. One, I was at Arsenal-Chelsea on Sunday, and I think the Chelsea defence perfectly exposed the flaws in Victor Gyökeres' game, and you have to compare the two, because obviously United at one stage were looking at Gyökeres, Arsenal were looking at Sesko. what Sesko's got is the pace to get away from players. Gyökeres doesn't have that. So what they did a couple of times, Trevor Chalobah in particular, they almost invited him to run at them knowing that he couldn't get in behind.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big plus if you're comparing the two. And the other point that I wanted to make is Michael Carrick and the patience that he's shown with Benjamin Sesko, because I feel a little bit for Rasmus Hojlund. I don't think he's as bad a centre forward as the stats probably suggest.
Yeah.
But he was overplayed too early on, wasn't he? He was over
too much pressure on his shoulders for sure.
and
He was
wasn't
the
ready
only
for
option,
it. So
really.
Yeah.
well, he was, but we didn't have an option here. But the option was to play with a false number 9. So again, credit to Michael Carrick for not being overly reliant on Sesko and enabling him time to find his form, find his feet, and find his confidence.
Yeah, I think he's been a breath of fresh air. I really do. Considering how patient he's been, and his mentality seems to be top as well. Because when you're not in the team for as long as he's not been in it, and then you start scoring and you're still not starting, you still have to keep yourself ready, keep yourself humble. And I saw in an interview done in the mix zone after Everton, said if ever I'm needed for 5 minutes, 95 minutes, I'm going to do my job. It's not stinking of ego and entitlement of I've been bought for this money, I'm supposed to be the difference maker, play me. He's looking like he's really happy to be here. Luke Shaw hobbled off, but Michael Carrick said that was due to him feeling ill. So we'll have to wait and see. But I think, do you know what? I think that Mazraoui was an unsung hero of the game, because he really tidied everything up, really read the game really well. Didn't probably get the flowers that he deserved actually for coming on. So if Luke Shaw is out, we're happy with him coming through. And more importantly, the team managed to find a way. And Michael Carrick, he's managing to keep players. He's not using the squad massively because we haven't got loads of quality past the starting 11, like you say. But, Heaven come on, had to do a job. Mazraoui had to do a job. Ahmad, came on and kept the ball well, had a couple of shots as well. I did want to talk about Kobbie Mainoo, because I don't know if you saw after the game, right, on social media, as it always is on social media, he started to divide opinion. I started seeing United fans saying, he was terrible.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Honestly. and to the fans that were doing that, hang your head in shit. I saw somebody on X, right, say, I want to see Joshua Zirkzee maybe as the link-up man in midfield because we'll keep the... get off this
Joshua Zirkzee is not the future of Manchester United. Kobbie Mainoo is.
It's that simple. And I think people got this misconception that if Kobbie is not shining by making the defence kit a splitting pass or this, that and the other, then he's failing. Sometimes you want your 6 to go under the radar. You want your 6 to just keep things ticking. You had Casemiro, who was going forward and trying things. You had Bruno, who's always trying things. You need someone to bring a little bit of balance. Just because he played a 6 out of 10 or a 6.5 out of 10 and it wasn't an 8, a 9 or a 10, all of a sudden Kobbie Mainoo's rubbish.
Listen, people are getting confused here, because how old is Kobbie Mainoo?
Exactly, 20 years of age.
And for me, as much as we have seen him be absolutely fantastic for Manchester United, for England, people automatically assume that, oh right, well he must be a finished product now. And I know that we're seeing way more young players now be successful and be very, very good a lot earlier on than back in the day. But he's still learning. He's had, I can only imagine, on the pitch, off the pitch, it has been an awful season overall for him. That he's been struggling, he's not had game time. That's going to affect you on the pitch. It's going to affect your fitness, probably. It's going to affect your confidence, etc. So the way that he's been kind of flung back into starting 11s, overall, I think he's been really good, especially.
It's exceptional.
So I just think it's a little bit of a reach that people are now starting to dig him out, when we were all together saying free Kobbie Mainoo, etc. Well, some people were saying it.
And the thing is that those people are the same people who backed Amorim at the time, saying no, he's not doing enough. When he did play, Roy Keane said it. He said, but when he did play, he played against Grimsby, and what did he do? That was the type of narrative that was being formed around Kobbie Mainoo, and then he's been out that long, comes in against City, smashes it. Arsenal smashes it. Spurs, Fulham smashes it.
What good is it to dig him out? This kid is still young, he's still learning, he's had an awful season where he's not been playing consistently until the new year. The last 2-3 months max. Last 2 months, we're only just at the beginning of March, that he's actually been playing consistently. So I just think people need to cut him a little bit of slack, and he is still young, still learning.
He didn't play badly.
Still
it's not like we're saying he's young. He had a bad game against Palace. It happens. He played absolutely fine. And when the whole 35 minutes in the first half, everybody, I should have seen Dallow's name all over the app. I didn't see that.
But it seems like people are just like automatically thinking, oh well, he needs to be doing this, doing that, etc. And it's like, he still had a good game, like you say, but also, like, he's still very, very young. And even if he does make a few mistakes, that's okay.
Exactly. Crookie, I mean, is that just what... I say we, because we're not actually like that, but some of us online and what it's like, we just don't know what we want sometimes, and the scrutiny is just ridiculous. Everyone was saying how Wharton ran the game and this, that and the other. Listen, Adam Wharton was good in that first 35 minutes, and we know why he is a good player, but to suggest that Kobbie Mainoo had an awful game was just ridiculous.
It's bizarre, some of the fans' attitude towards Kobbie Mainoo. I don't know if they had their sort of head turned by the fact the previous manager wouldn't pick him. But listen, I've nailed my colours firmly to the Kobbie Mainoo mask. I was talking at the Euros when England was struggling for a central midfielder. Trent played there, Conor Gallagher played there for a half, and I was saying then, look, the answer smacking Gareth Southgate in the face is Kobbie Mainoo. And you look at the impact he had on that team, kept his place all the way through to the final in Berlin. I think he's a generational talent. I think he needs to be nurtured by the senior players around him. And I think you'll probably only see the best of him next season when he's had a full pre-season under his belt. And he's in the team right from the off, because there's no doubt about it. His confidence took a battering. And again, fair play to Michael Carrick for managing to nurture him back to believing in himself to be the player that we know he can. I think he's absolutely terrific. And if he had a quiet half an hour, he's entitled to it. I think we also saw the issue I've got when it comes to Adam Wharton, by the way. He starts games very well.
Yeah.
I've seen Palace a lot this season. He fades away, and that would be a little bit of a concern, depending how high up he is on United's list come the summer.
I mean, that does lead on to the conversation as well, Crookie, of like, what type of midfielder would be the perfect partner for Kobbie Mainoo? We know how much Man United want to invest into that area, and rightly so. We know about Baleba, Wharton, Anderson, but we've seen a lot of links with Tonali recently, most recently Bruno Guimaraes as well. Yes, they could be more difficult deals to do. What's the latest on those? And away from the speculation, who and what do you think is the right midfielder to partner alongside Kobbie?
Well, first and foremost, I think it's pretty clear that the United recruitment model this summer is going to be similar to last. I think they're favouring players proven in the Premier League. All of those players that you've just mentioned are obviously coming from domestic clubs. They're all very different profiles, I would say that. And up until recently, I was being told they might sign more than one central midfielder, but obviously the form of Kobbie Mainoo may change that approach. A couple of other names that have been mentioned to me in the last couple of days: Matheus Fernandes at West Ham, I think is starting to play really well for them, and a cheaper option potentially if you're just looking for extra numbers in midfield, Hayden Hackney at Middlesbrough. Obviously someone who played under Michael Carrick, someone who a lot of Premier League clubs have looked at. So it wouldn't surprise me if they sign one of those big guns that you're talking about, the likes of Wharton or Baleba or Anderson, maybe even Tonali, and then bring in a Hayden Hackney and a Matheus Fernandes to supplement that, because I'm just not convinced they're going to be able to spend the level of money to sign, say, Baleba and Wharton. You're talking in excess of £200 million.
Yeah, I agree. And who do you think, Crookie, what do you think Kobbie needs next to him most? Is it someone like Wharton who can dictate play? Is it an all-action, someone with legs who can do both ends of the game, like Anderson, like Tonali? Is it like an 8 and 6 hybrid like Bruno Guimaraes? What do you think complements Kobbie Mainoo the best?
This might sound strange because he's not having the best season at Brighton, but I think Carlos Baleba would be the perfect foil for Kobbie Mainoo, because I do think he's more of that sitting midfielder, because Kobbie's big strength for me is carrying the ball, and gobbling up the ground and turning defence into attack. So therefore, I think he needs someone solid who's just going to sit there in behind him. Wharton's range of passing is terrific, but we've already got Bruno Fernandes who can do that. I guess if you're looking for a combination of the two, Baleba and Wharton, then that would be Elliot Anderson or Sandro Tonali. So it'll be fascinating to see which of those players United stumble upon. The nagging sense in my mind when you look at what happened last summer, and again they made inquiries in January, is that Baleba has always been their number one target from that list of players that we talk about.
Do you think that's changed because he's had a difficult season? You see on a lot of United fans saying, no, he hasn't. Listen, he's been terrible this year and this, that and the other. At the minimum, the price will go down. But some people have sort of said if he's sort of buckled under the pressure with having a bit of speculation to come to United, what's it going to be like when you actually get here?
Yeah, I can see that argument, and there were times I was watching him at the start of the season. He's been taking off at half time every game. But I think you've got to look at Brighton as a club, and they've not had the type of season that many expected. I think Fabian Hertzler has found it tough going at times. So he won't be the only Brighton player who's underperformed. And from what I'm told, the hierarchy aren't overly concerned about that. Maybe, as you say, because it might just knock a few zeros off the price tag.
What do you think, Ange, in terms of the Anderson, Wharton, Tonali, Baleba? We always hear the names in the lead up to the transfer window.
Yeah, of course we do. And I think Crook makes a good point. The fact that they have been continuously talking about Carlos Baleba or having these discussions, etc. It seems to point to that. I'd be interested to see, who ends up going to the World Cup for England. Obviously,
does Kobe go? Has he got a chance? Probably not.
He's back in the picture, according to Tuchel.
Yeah, Ange got it out of him. He's back in the picture.
Yeah.
Ange, got us the exclusive there. Good work. But do you think he gets back in this next England team coming up?
Well, this next camp, I would be very, very interested to see if Shaw, Maguire or Mainoo gets called up, because I think when you look at the centre-back pairings, I don't think that Mark Gay has got... Me and Sam Matterface were talking about this on the talkSPORT Daily. Does Mark Gay have his solid centre-back pairing for England yet? We're not too sure. No. I think you look at somebody like John Stones, who has been struggling. He's not getting game time. So if you want... Not saying that Harry Maguire would pair up with Mark Gay, but if you want somebody who's a little bit older, maybe more experienced, to be on the bench for England, if he was looking at a John Stones, and that's maybe not going to happen because he's been injured and he's not been playing, is Harry Maguire maybe another option that they would consider? You think about the left-back position, that is up for debate. You've got somebody like Lewis Hall. We've seen Nico O'Reilly playing there for England, but he's more in midfield now for City. Is he going to have a look in the midfield? I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure, but go on, Crook, you've got your finger up. You'd like to ask something?
No, I was just going to say, I've actually been asked to write a piece for the talkSPORT website today because it's 100 days as we record this until the World Cup, and they wanted me to put together a sort of Thomas Tuchel in-tray of the matters he needs to address before the tournament, and two of my points were sort out the left-back position. He's used 6 left-backs in 10 games, Thomas Tuchel, but I think if you go back to the last Euros, it was only really when Luke Shaw came into the team towards the end of the quarter-final, played a half in the semi-final, started the final. But we needed him for balance, and I think he's got that big game experience. I think he's definitely got to be a big part of the conversation. And one of my standalone points is recall Harry Maguire, because we know that Mark Gay will be the first choice centre-back. Who partners him? Possibly Ezri Konsa, although Villa's form has tailed off, and his has as well. John Stones can't be relied upon to stay fit. He hasn't played for England, Maguire, since September 2024, so he's not been in any of the squads that Tuchel has picked since replacing Sir Gareth Southgate and Lee Carsley. But as he told you, Ange, Harry Maguire is part of his plans, and I've got a feeling he might be in for this March camp.
He went to that West Ham game. He admitted that he went to that West Ham game to watch. Yeah. I mean, he ain't watching Jared Bowen. He went to watch Manchester United. He said, I thought that they would be in the starting 11. I was right, they were. So there's definitely a case for it. I think for Kobe, there's so much talent in the midfield. I think it might be a little bit too late for him. I think he gets
in, guys. I don't think so at all.
Do you think he goes to the World Cup?
I think Tuchel has to get him in now, because we're running out of...
The camp in March, I think he's got to look in.
Have a look in.
And I
think once he has a look, I think he says, yeah.
I hope it happens.
Yeah, I'm having some of this. I personally, listen, it is a bit biased.
Yeah.
But I don't think Thomas Tuchel's a football man. I don't think he's going to look at Kobe doing really well in training, holding his own against all the top players that our country has to offer, and go, nah, I'm all right. He won't pass.
The thing is,
Kobe's going to the World Cup.
Even though Thomas Tuchel has extended his contract, he's still been brought in for this tournament to win. And
he's going to have a better chance of doing that with Kobe.
No, but I agree with you, but he has got the mentality. He's not here to, I should think about this person and that or whatever. He's there to win.
That's why I think he goes.
So I think he will be ruthless in that sense.
I don't think he'll be doing it out of pressure. I absolutely agree with you. Thomas Tuchel isn't going to be like, oh, this is England's golden boy. Like he'll be like Amrin, where he's like, listen, you lot really want him to play. If I don't think he's that good, he ain't playing. But I think Thomas Tuchel will appreciate him. I think he will. I honestly really do.
I think he'll appreciate him if he's in this next camp. I'm not as confident about the World Cup, but I would love it if it did happen.
Crookie, is he going?
I would love it. Kevin Keegan has come back to life now.
Is he going? Is Kobe going to go?
I hope he's in the squad. The kids want me to take him to. to one of the England games in March, and I'm not that excited about friendly football. But if Cobby's in the squad, and if Shaw and Maguire are as well, then I might
get an England shirt with Cobby on the back.
I think it's. Well, my daughter's already got one of those,
but
I do think it's probably too little, too late. I think you've got Declan Rice is now on. Obviously, Elliot Anderson. I think Tuchel absolutely loves the balance that he brings to the team. If you're looking at those sort of holding midfielders, I guess there is a debate between Cobby and Wharton.
Exactly.
On form in recent weeks.
I'm telling you, Cobby Mainoo is going to be on. Tommy Tooks, he understands football. He knows the assignment. He's a real football man, and I'm going to stick my neck on the line. He's going to the World Cup, Cobby Mainoo.
I hope you're right.
Yes, I will be.
I genuinely hope you're right.
In terms of the other midfielder we need to talk about as well, Crookie, is Casemiro. Obviously, he is leaving. But how much of a void is he actually going to leave? Because at one point, yes, to go back to the football leaves you and all that stuff, this, that and the other, he was washed, he was finished. He's one of our most important players. More so, look, Carrick's leaving him on now. He's not trying to take any chances of... We all know the stats that support the theory that when he leaves the football pitch, we are worse.
Things go wrong, yeah.
Things go wrong. Ruben Amorim found out the hard way, being 3-0 up against flipping Brighton, I think it was at the time. And then we started conceding. And the stats say that, you know, when Ugarte comes on for Casemiro, etc., we struggle. He's going to be a big hole to fill, isn't he?
Yeah, not just in terms of what he's still capable of doing on the pitch, but I think in the dressing room he's a massive character. You can tell the players absolutely adore him, and actually he obviously loves being at Manchester United. You only have to look at his family's social media posts to see that. So yeah, listen, I think it's the right decision, particularly on his current wages.
Absolutely.
I guess the question now is if he was prepared to take a significant cut, is there maybe an argument for keeping him around for another year? Or I think Ange would probably say he's not the future of Manchester United. Is it time to cut the cord and move on?
He loves that line.
Yeah.
If he wanted to stay and
he ain't taking a pay cut. He's already said he's going.
If he said he wanted to take 80 grand a week, mate, I'd give him another year, 100%. But he ain't going to do that. You're right. And they've already called it in. Unless there's a miraculous turn of events where they're like, do you know what? One last try, we'll renegotiate. I can't see it.
Yeah, no, say maybe there'll be one last dance, but
What is interesting about Casemiro though is he's actually quite difficult to replace now. Not difficult because there's a good menu to choose from, but if you look at them, there's not really a like for like for him.
No.
So he gives you good presence in both boxes. Aerially, you know, he's good scoring goals with his head. He's good, you know, defensively with headers. He can spot a pass, but what he doesn't give you is that all-out mobility, that tenacity to get after people, help you play on the front foot, help you play higher up. So we just need like a younger
version of him, basically.
Exactly, but if you bought Elliot Anderson, he's not going to give you the contribution of goals that Casemiro would.
Yeah.
Wharton won't. Guimaraes would. Tonali probably won't. Do you know what I mean? It's a weird trade-off. You have to get this right.
Yeah, I think the Bruno Guimaraes stuff, that does intrigue me because I do look at him and think,
he's got 9 goals this season.
I would like to see what that would look like, but I don't know if is there any truth in it, Crook, or is it just kind of whispers at this point?
I think he's probably on a long list of targets for the reasons that I've already explained, that they're looking for someone who's got the sort of Premier League pedigree and the Premier League appearances to his name. So I think that makes a lot of sense, but I think out of the two, Tonali would be higher up in the thinking of Manchester United. I think probably the one more likely to leave Newcastle in the window as well.
Yeah. Another one for the future. You talk about someone who is the future of Manchester United. JJ Gabriel. 18 goals in 21 under-18s games. I think he's still 15, last time I checked. He might be 16 now, but last time I checked he was 15. Appearing regularly in first-team training. The kid looks special. Of course... Don't get carried away. No. Don't think he's the next Messi. Don't think he's the next Yamal, etc., etc. However, you don't train with the main squad.
It's not by accident.
Exactly.
You've not walked onto the wrong training pitch,
Max Darwin at Arsenal, and even he, like you say, got to put him to the side now. But he came on in a couple of games early on in the season. But is he one where you're looking at next season potentially could be his breakout in the first team? Because they, with all the will in the world of trying to do that, let's just not. Sometimes the kids are just good enough, and they to kick down the door.
Yeah, I think it's almost maybe worked in his favour that there aren't loads of games, so he's not really going to have those chances, that it's just kind of easing him in a little bit more gently of, you're training with the first team, you're learning lots, give it the summer, come back, and then we've got, hopefully we're going to be competing long term in 4 competitions. We're not going to give them all up in, the first game of the FA Cup or the League Cup, fingers crossed. So though that will bring opportunities. So it is really important with these young players that we protect them. But like you say, you've got to balance it out of protecting and nurturing a young star, but also giving them the opportunities. And I think we've seen Arsenal with Darren do that quite well, in my opinion. Yeah. So I think maybe following a similar model. But yeah, it's exciting. But you've also, like I say, you've got to give them the opportunities, because if this guy is as special as we all think, there will be other clubs that will come knocking. Yeah,
well, Barcelona were reportedly trying to prize him away, and United sort of give him a lot of promises to say, you're going to train with the first team, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and he signed a new deal. But he will be hot property, and he will be looking to play men's football soon. I think you get to the summer, I think it probably helps that there's a World Cup and there's so many players that are away. So when it's time for tour will probably be in Europe, what I'm hearing, but by the time it's time for pre-season, a lot of players could still be away, so you need to use the youngsters. Again, and he's got a really good opportunity to see what happens there. Crookie, just really quickly before we move on to Newcastle United and previewing that game, your thoughts on JJ Gabriel and his sort of route or avenue into the first team?
Yeah, it's interesting when you look at young players now, because you see it with Arsenal, and the comparison is totally relevant when it comes to Max Dowman. A lot of the big clubs don't seem to want to loan out their young talent. David Beckham started his career, I think, at Preston North End, didn't he? Yeah. That doesn't happen so much now, not with the genuine superstars that are coming through. So, like you, I don't think we're going to see him in the first team this season, not at the age of 15. But if he keeps doing what he's doing in the underage groups, I think he will be part of any post or pre-season tour, and then they're going to have a decision to make, Manchester United, aren't they? The one who seems to have slipped through the net or been forgotten about is Chido Obi, who obviously towards the end of last season was featuring fairly regularly, but has his progress stunted? Is he maybe not the player they thought he was?
I think he has been playing, but forgive me if this isn't 100% correct, I think he got a head injury against Chelsea.
Yeah, he had a concussion, I think.
Which obviously doesn't mean that he's not been playing well or anything like that, but I think it's just, he's still been scoring goals.
He has been,
He's just been kind of ticking over nice.
But he's not been part of the first team squad like he was.
But I think with that, when he was signed, people at the club told me when we was in San Diego, actually, we were playing against Betis at the time in the Snapdragon Stadium, and when they signed him, they said, this is for in 3 years. Yeah. I think what it is with him is it's indicative of how bad it was last year. Yeah. We had to keep Rasmus Hojlund on ice because the Europa League was so important. Remember, we had loads of games last year. Aiden Heaven was the same. He played because of injuries. They bought him for the future too. And Ruben Amorim said it, these kids had to play. And you did see that Chido wasn't quite ready, but there was this narrative that Rasmus is so bad. Just play the kids. Just play Chido.
But it was getting to the point where you were like, let's just try anything. Yeah.
But he wasn't quite ready. And I think the plan.
You've only gone and named he who shouldn't be named as well, Flex. Come on.
Oh yeah, of course he doesn't like to say Ruben Amorim's name.
Well,
you still haven't said it.
Yeah. You've not said it.
You've still upheld your own values, which I'm proud of you for doing that. Right, let's look ahead to a tough trip to St James's Park tomorrow, and I say tough trip because I think it still is. I know they have lost the last 3 games at home in a row. That's the first time in 9 years, I think, since that's happened. They're not in great form in the Premier League. They have struggled. I saw
still
today.
A tough place to go.
Still a tough place to go. I saw today that, of course, we saw that Jacob Ramsey was vomiting and was quite violently ill on the pitch. Nick Voltemada is apparently going to be out as well because he's had the same bout, so apparently there's an illness in the camp. They've got injuries to Livramento, Shah, etc., and some others. So they're not the Newcastle that we've been playing against the last few seasons where they've really torn us a new one, especially in the midfield area. There's no Bruno Guimaraes as well, he's injured. But like we're saying, Angela, it's still a tough game under the lights at St James's Park. You can't afford to take that easy.
Yeah, definitely. Ever. And I know that it won't be the Newcastle team that we're maybe used to playing against. Also, they had those extra Champions League games. I know it was against Karabakh, but it was still this first leg was still travel, etc. So there will be some tired legs from that. We're coming into this a lot fresher. We're coming into it with less injuries. So on paper, this should be a game that Manchester United win. And I think it'll be a really interesting test for Michael Carrick, because whilst you're going into a game with a team that it is not the strongest, they also like to be physical. It's still at St James's Park, so I think it will be, if you're putting your neutral hat on, I think it would be an interesting game and a good test for Michael Carrick. Yeah,
it will. Crookie, for you, how concerning is it that, we don't know if Maguire's back fit yet, because Michael Carrick did say hopefully he's all right for Wednesday, just a bit of discomfort. Luke Shaw as well. If you go into St James's Park with Lenny Yoro and Aiden Heaven having to be your centre backs, that's a different proposition. Not that I believe they'll instantly fail, but it changes the complexion of the game massively.
Yeah, and it changes the complexion of the game. That it's only the second time since Carrick came in that we've had to play more than one game a week. And if you go back to the last time that happened at West Ham, it wasn't a brilliant performance. We looked a little bit leg weary and obviously needed a late goal from Sesko to take a point. So it's a different type of challenge, because basically Carrick's got 13 players, and he's
exactly
got the 11 that start. He's got Ahmad and Joshua Zirkzee, Aiden Heaven potentially, but you scratch beneath that there isn't much there. There's not much you can do to change it. Will Ahmad come back in? I thought he made an impact when he came off the bench against Newcastle. Against Palace. So I wonder if Cunha's position may be vulnerable, because Sesko's got to keep his starting place for me and take advantage of that patched up Newcastle defence. We need Maguire and Shaw fit, absolutely, no doubt about that in my mind. I'm buoyed by Newcastle's list of absentees, but I look at our recent record at St James's Park, I still think a point would be a fabulous result.
I agree with you. I think this is going to be a difficult game. There is the positive vibe in me that's like, guys, come on, I've seen Everton go there, give them a game. I've seen Brentford go there, put them under. There's no reason why we can't make a game of this, and we shouldn't be getting steamrolled like we normally do. But you do have to respect the opposition and respect the stadium, respect the atmosphere. But we're confident, man. Why can't we go there and win and nick it 2-1, which is what I'm going to go with. But it is going to be a tough game. It always is there. Right, now it's time for the Bet Builder with BetMGM. You can head over to the app, or you can head over to betmgm.co.uk. And what have you got for us? Newcastle United away, St James's Park.
So what I have gone with is Man United to win, obviously, and both teams to score. Newcastle haven't kept a clean sheet in their last 10 games, but have scored in all of those games. So that was kind of my thinking with that one. Over 3.5 cards, like I say, I think it will be a physical game. Newcastle are a physical team. You can imagine Joelinton Tonali, they like to get stuck in. They had 4 cards against Everton at the weekend. So that was my thinking behind that. And then Man United to score first, because I believe that in the last 4 league games, in the first halves of those games, Newcastle have conceded 8 goals. So for me, that kind of, they are conceding a fair amount of goals, so why not for Manchester United to score first? So yeah, we've got Man United to win, both teams to score, over 3.5 cards, and Man United to score first.
Okay, I like that. It's more positivity. It's more good
that's
vibes.
What we need.
It's more believing. Crookie, can you get behind that? Man United to score over 3.5 total cards, going to be a feisty affair, and Man United to score first. You like that?
Yeah, I think it's quite positive.
I know he's a bit hesitant there, Angie. He's a bit hesitant.
Oh my god, hater.
He thinks it's gonna be a draw.
I've got this marked down. No, listen, my head says draw, but my heart is telling me United win 2-1, and Villa lose at home. Villa lose at home to Chelsea.
Oh.
We beat Villa.
Yeah,
and that's pretty much the top.
I want a draw in that game, Crookie. I want Villa and Chelsea draw. Then we got a nice little break again, because we got no games because of the FA Cup, and then we play Villa. Then you dispatch of them, and then that should see us
how
sailing.
Nice it is that we're and I've said this before. We're looking at other teams, and we actually care about other results now, because it does actually affect us, not relating to a relegation.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's
we're
exciting.
at the right end of the pitch. There you go. I'm going with a 2-1 win. You're going with United to win the game.
I'll go 2-1 as well. Yeah,
2-1.
Why not? Yeah.
Crookie, you said the 1-1, but your heart's 2-1. So basically, you're 2-1. You're with us. We're going 2-1 all the way across the board. And remember, this show is brought to you by BetMGM. You can download the app or visit betmgm.co.uk. 18+. Please gamble responsibly. Gambleaware.org. We'll be seeing you after the Newcastle match on Thursday as well. So hopefully, it's another 3 points in the bag, and at the very least, continuing this unbeaten